This is where we get to see all of the results of the hard work and the effort that we've been putting into restructuring a certain area of our lives. A beautiful, powerful time of opportunity. And this could actually be bringing this energy around for like the pursuit of pleasure, passion, and enjoyment. Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is from Monday, July 19th, all the way through to Sunday, July 25th of 2021. And this week we have a powerful full moon in the sign of Aquarius, bringing us to a culmination point of the energies that we've been working through when it comes to the adjustments we've had to make, sometimes very gradual and sometimes very quick, the pivots that I've been talking about over these past few weeks, months, and really the entire year in 2021 so far. This is where we get to see all of the results, or some of the results at least, of the hard work and the effort that we've been putting into restructuring a certain area of our lives. This is where we've been having to make changes in a very sustainable way to certain foundations in our lives that we thought were static, that we thought were fixed, that we thought were going to be stuck in place for quite some time, and that maybe we've grown comfortable with. But we realized over these past couple of months that, the changes needed to happen because these areas of stability, these areas of comfort have really become more of a cage than a foundation. And so Uranus shows us as part of this Saturn-Uranus square that's, been highlighted over these past few weeks, where we've really been building ourselves a box or a container as opposed to a platform for something that's going to create more liberation, more freedom, more sustainability, more sustainability would be probably the best word for that with that Saturn energy. We're trying to create a foundation for forward progress. And maybe we've been creating something that's limiting ourselves, right? And that could be when it comes to our mindset about something, because there's air sign energy involved in this with Aquarius, of course. So maybe holding on to rigid, dogmatic mindsets about things. This could be on a physical level. Maybe we've been holding on to our physical comfort zones, even though they haven't been working for us anymore. This could be on a psychological level, holding on to attachments. This could be on the level of even something like nostalgia and wanting to kind of revert back to the past or hold on to our glory days or times from the past that, we really hold dear because they were really positive for us in some way. And so all of these energies could have been preventing us from really moving forward. And we've been having to slowly chip away at all of that and break free and, again, pivot. And so that's what we've been dealing with. And this full moon is illuminating that energy. It's showing us how far we've come so far this year when it comes to recreating our foundations. And that's a big energy this year. So that's super important. And this is going to give us a taste of some of the results that we've been manifesting and harnessing. And with Saturn in retrograde being a part of this full moon energy in a conjunction, it could be that we have to kind of go back and restructure. It could illuminate not just how far we've come, but like maybe where we need to tear some stuff down and rebuild a little bit more so, because this energy is going to be lasting through the end of this year, start of next year in 2022. And so we're not done with it just yet, but we're getting this like bird's eye view, like, hey, look at all we've done so far. The other energies that are coming in this week, we have Mercury coming into a trine with Neptune opposing Pluto. This is a very compassionate, intuitive, and very discerning, but not necessarily on a rational, logical level, but a discerning energy that brings our ability to understand things, at depth, back online after having Mercury squaring Neptune for so long, making everything confusing. And my favorite energy this week is the two benefic planets. We have Venus and Jupiter in opposition in Virgo and in Pisces at 0 degrees. And this is going to be a powerful, positive energy that we'll talk about this week. But before we get into all of that, I just want to mention for those of you who are new to my channel, the way that I, first and foremost, subscribe to my channel because I do a new astrology video every single Saturday. And so you never want to miss an astrology update. And even if you're not new to my channel, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. And the way that I structure my videos is that I always start with a 5 to 10 minute general forecast. Don't skip this. We're kind of in the middle of that right now. This is going to provide an important context for the more detailed or more specific interpretation that I'm going to be giving for all 12 signs. Speaking of which, when I do get into the forecast for all 12 signs, make sure you listen to your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign to get a more holistic overview of your energy for the week ahead. The rising sign will be the most predominant energy, the sun sign will be secondary, and the moon sign is important to listen to as well, although this energy will be a little bit more internalized and subjective. Finally, at the end of each video, I do a 2 to 3 minute overview of next week's energy so you can be even farther ahead in planning around those planetary energies. And so kind of getting back into it, we talked pretty in depth already about the full moon, and that full moon is happening on Friday. So we're kind of building toward that all week long. And so that's like an energy that's going to continue to gain momentum as we move farther into the week. And especially over the weekend, it'll be a big energy on Saturday and, even into Sunday. So that's part of what's going on here. But the other thing, and the thing that I really want to talk about, is this this Venus Jupiter opposition, which, it happens to be a very positive energy, but we have this energy of Jupiter next week shifting back into Aquarius, where it's going to oppose Mars exact. So it's kind of a different thing. So we have this energy of Venus, we have this energy of Mars, we have Jupiter opposing. When Jupiter opposes Venus, just in and of itself, that's a beautiful, powerful time of opportunity. It could also just be a time of increased pleasure, increased indulgence, increased ease, where things just kind of work themselves out a lot more gracefully than they normally would, where you're more easily able to come back into balance, come back into harmony, take a little bit of a breather, which might be welcomed at the time of this full moon. It's like, oh my gosh, look at all that I've done. And hey, I actually, in this area of my life, I think I'm going to kick back and enjoy this. I'm seeing all of the potential that I've created for myself. I'm really reviewing and evaluating all of the hard work that I've put in. And, now that I've gotten this far, I need a little bit of a break. That might be the case for some people. However, that Mars energy, even though it's out of sign and it's not coming exact until next week, it's still part of the configuration. And so this could lead to an increase in passion, and especially the two benefic planets involved in this, I think it's going to be mostly positive. So it's going to be probably an increase of passion, especially in relationships or in creative types of pursuits and things like that. But it could also be, an overreaction or an overdoing it when it comes to indulgences. And so if you're somebody who's prone to overeating or over drinking or, laziness or just kind of overdoing it would probably be less laziness because it's Mars. So it's probably going to be like overdoing something, like too much of a good thing, where you could make yourself sick or burnt out, or, you just kind of overspend your money or something like that. And we'll get into how this will pan out for each sign as we go through the forecast here. But yeah, so that's part of the energy. I do think this is mostly going to be positive though. So as long as you are aware and you're kind of reining it in and not overextending yourself or overdoing things, especially on the side of pleasure and things that you do for more enjoyment, I think that everyone will actually be fine. And this could actually be bringing this energy around for like the pursuit of pleasure, passion, and enjoyment in a positive way for many, many people. So I don't think that that's all negative. The only downfall, again, is maybe overdoing it. And so that's what we're going to be talking about in the forecast for all 12 signs. Before we do, I just have a quick announcement that I want to make. So for those of you who have been watching my channel, you know that I have a membership subscription community called the Cosmic Community, and the doors have been closed for the past couple of months because we've been working on a major upgrade. That upgrade is finally happening this week, so our current members are moving to our new space. They're going to get to enjoy all of the new features, including our new community member forum. So, we have a lot of really great content already in the community, but now they'll be able to engage, or you'll be able to engage if this is you, a lot more easily and seamlessly with other members, other like-minded astrology lovers, and with me and our community manager and all of the astrology experts who are a part of this project here. But I just wanted to let you guys know that because we're going to be doing a grand reopening of the Cosmic Community on August 10th, so in just a couple of weeks here, and I have a special surprise planned for all of you, so stay tuned and keep your eyes peeled for that because you won't want to miss this. And so that's basically what I wanted to mention here. So let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning, of course, with Aries and Aries rising. Let me get my little zodiac up. That is not Aries. There we go. All right. And so I don't even have this the right way. So for Aries and for Aries rising. So this full moon energy is bringing the culmination of something that you've been working really hard on involving your friendships and group associations, or maybe forming new friendships, or working on maybe changing things up when it comes to your social interactions. And so maybe you've been working hard on letting go of just like party friends and drinking buddies, and you've been focusing more on harnessing and facilitating sustainable, like really solid foundations for relationships and friendships and connections that are going to stand the test of time. That's really what tends to happen when you have Saturn transiting the 11th like that. And you know, especially with Saturn, often you'll have more like work-related new acquaintances and new friendships that'll come in. So you'll connect with people through work or through networking types of activities for work and things like that. But in general, all the friendships that you're bringing in right now are going to be like, they're going to be with you for a very, very, very long time. And so you also want to look at who you're bringing with you moving forward from your past. Like, are these relationships really solid, or are these people just flaky, or are they bogging you down? Is this relationship more of a burden than it is an asset, right? And I mean, it's not just all about you, obviously, but that's something that you're going to be looking at while Saturn is transiting this 11th house. And this is really where you're going to see the results of the effort that you've put in so far to maintaining the right relationships, getting rid of the wrong ones, and facilitating new ones that are going to be really solid and long lasting, and a good foundation for your social circle and your friendships into the future. Especially if you're an Aries sun, moon, rising anywhere from, I would say, 5 to 15 degrees. This is going to be more of an energy that's highlighting one-on-one partnerships and close personal relationships as well. So you're creating sustainability and longevity in all of your close partnerships, romantic or otherwise. This energy with the Jupiter Venus in opposition, this is where you might want to kind of take a step back and kick back and relax when it comes to your day-to-day routines and habits. This could be overindulgence in like sweets or something like that, and that could be an area of overdoing it. But really, this could be where you want to just kick back and relax on a day-to-day level and just make things a little bit more balanced and pleasurable and easier for yourself this week. You'll be very grateful and very glad that you did once things start to heat up a little bit more next week. For Taurus and for Taurus rising. So for Taurus, this full moon energy is happening in your 10th house, which is the house of career and public reputation. This is highlighting a lot of the hard work that you've been putting in toward restructuring and creating really solid, long-lasting foundations for yourself when it comes to your career goals and plans, or when it comes to just your public image, your public reputation, your relationship with people in positions of power and authority, or the legacy that you leave behind after your working years if you're somebody who isn't working anymore. So this is going to highlight all of the work that you put in, and it's also going to show you where maybe the foundations, again, have some cracks in them, or they're not very good, or you've been maybe holding on to something like some responsibility for work or some area of your work life that maybe you've had like a rigid, dogmatic mindset about it, and that's been preventing you from actually achieving your fullest potential when it comes to your career goals. And so that could be a thing that's highlighted as well. So pay attention to what comes up for you involving work this week. It's showing you how far you've come, and you might get some rewards and benefits from that, but it's also showing you how far you still need to go. The other thing that's happening is this Venus-Jupiter opposition, which is happening in your 11th and 5th house. This is a great week for socializing. This is a great week for going out and doing things that bring you joy. This is a great week for indulging in your passions or doing something really romantic in partnership, especially if you are an early Taurus sun, moon, or rising, especially a Taurus rising. Anywhere from 0 to 5 degrees, you'll be feeling this very positively in your relationships. Great interactions, a great time to put yourself out there too if you happen to be single, and if you're somebody who's wanting to grow and cultivate relationship. This is a really nice romantic energy. Lots of passion, lots of heat, but also a lot of receptivity. right? Reciprocity. Even in the sign of Virgo with this Venus energy in opposition to Jupiter, this is a great time to do something that is both practical and enjoyable and indulgent at the same time. So something like it has a practical application, like maybe getting a massage or a pedicure or something like that. It's self-care. You're going to have like pretty nails for, your date or whatever. Or you're going to feel it's going to help like maintain your body or whatever. If you're doing like a massage or something like that, it's something like that's practical, but also feels really indulgent. That's like the best way that you can use this energy. And especially if you're doing this like with friends or something along those lines, like go out with like your girlfriends and, get a mani-pedi or whatever it is that you want to do. So that's what's going on for Taurus and Taurus rising. Do something indulgent, do something fun, and engage in your hobbies and passions, and do it with friends. That would be the best way to use this energy this week. For Gemini and for Gemini rising. So for Gemini, this energy of the full moon is actually happening in your 9th house. So this is showing you how far you've gone in the learning process so far. This could actually have you reevaluating your past education. So you could be looking at, how far you've come in pursuit of higher knowledge or higher wisdom thus far in your life, and some of the changes that you've made in terms of your educational plans over the past few months. This could also be changes that you've made simply to your mindset and your worldview. Maybe you've been working on letting go of rigid and dogmatic ideologies, moral vantage points, viewpoints, religious belief systems, things like that. And you've been working on slowly restructuring and reframing the way that you frame this reality through that lens of your morality or your ethical value systems or your religion or your philosophy. This is going to show you how far you've come and how far you still have to go and how much work you still have to do when it comes to that reframing. This could also be having to do with foreign travel. And so this could highlight how far you've come in dealing with foreign entities or with some sort of travel plans or some sort of connection to a foreign culture, a foreign country, or a connection to a teacher. But again, it's showing you how far you still need to go. So that's all going to be very apparent this week. For Geminis, you have this Jupiter-Venus opposition in your 10th and in your 4th house. For Geminis, I think this could be kind of like maybe you've overdone it or you're overdoing it when it comes to your career and public reputation. And some of you might need to create or recreate or maintain some sort of balance by coming back home. But this is actually a really good, this is a good energy for creating a better work-life balance. This could also be a time where you're enjoying the fruits of your hard work and you're getting some sort of recognition or putting something out there that expands on your career success and notoriety. This could also be a really good time to, facilitate better relationships in your home and in your family life, especially like sibling relationships and things like that, because next week we'll have the Jupiter opposition to Mars in your 9th and in your 3rd. But great week for all things career, all things home, all things family. For Cancer rising. So for Cancers, this full moon energy is happening in your 8th house. This is the house of joint finances, other people's money, debt, taxes, inheritance, things like that. And so kind of on a more mundane physical level, that's what this area represents. And so this full moon is highlighting how far you've come in making gradual changes and working really hard toward your financial goals and plans, especially when it comes to investments, especially when it comes to paying off debts or paying off taxes, especially when it comes to resources that you have in partnership with somebody else, somebody like a marriage partner or a business partner or something along those lines. There might have been some changes that you've needed to make or some adjustments or some work that you've needed to put in that area. This is going to show you how far you've come and how far you still need to go. This is also an energy that could bring up, or maybe has been bringing up, fears and anxieties that are related to past trauma or past situations. This could also bring up a fear of death or a more of a consciousness around the theme of death or the theme of your own mortality. And that could be something that you've been working through and working on. Or maybe you've been doing the deeper inner work or doing some sort of occult studies or something like that. Whatever it is that you've been working on in that area, now's the time where those efforts, you're going to start to see the results or what the results could be. And you're also going to see where you still have to keep going and where you might need to make some more adjustments into the future through the end of this year. The Jupiter Venus energy is really, really great for learning, education, communication, and travel. This would be a great time for you to indulge in either a short or long distance trip just for fun, just because you feel passionate about going to that location. It seems fun and exciting for you, or just because you need a break and you want to indulge in something like that. This is a great time for, anything involving vehicles, anything involving, again, airline travel or something like that. But this could also be a really great time for you to engage in learning or speaking about or teaching something new, or some sort of creative or educational kind of pursuit where you're writing and communicating something of value. This could be a really great fortuitous week for Cancers for that. For Leo and for Leo rising. So for Leos, this energy is happening in your seventh house, which is the house of relationships. You've been undergoing a major restructuring in the area of relationships. This is where you've been having to let go of any close relationships, any close friendships, any romantic partnerships that no longer serve you. This is where you've been restructuring your love life and figuring out what you truly want and need. This is kind of a commit or get out transit typically when this happens, but because there is that Uranus square in the mix, there's been a lot of wavering and a lot of indecisiveness and maybe even some pivoting when it comes to relationships, because it's like on the one hand you want something solid, you want something committed, you want something that you can rely on with that Saturn energy, which is not typical for you. With that Aquarius, you need a little bit more freedom. And then on the other hand, you do need more freedom right now. So it's kind of like a push and pull between, I want this good foundation in my relationships, but I also need to branch out and do like new and exciting things, maybe in partnership or outside of the partnership on my own. That's a lot of the kind of balancing act or the kind of challenge that's been going on. But if you've been working hard and making adjustments to your partnership to facilitate more liberation, more freedom, more autonomy, and more excitement, then, this is where you're going to see the fruits of those labors. If you haven't been doing that, then this is where you're going to see where you're still stuck or where you need to kind of revisit or pivot again. And so this is going to show you how far you've come and how far you need to go. There's actually really good energy for Leos this week in terms of finances. So you could have new money coming in or a new financial opportunity. You could see the results of investments that you've made in the past finally coming to fruition, or money coming in from something that was initiated before, or a revisiting of an old opportunity that brings more financial success, or just a little bit more money. I would steer clear though of overspending. So even if money does come in, don't just throw it all out and spend it right away, because this is an energy where you could overdo it in like just expenditures that are not necessarily necessary. Where it's like, I don't need this, but I want it, and then you overdo it, and then you're like, darn it, a couple weeks from now, you'll be like, I wish I still had that money because now this thing happened, or I need this other thing. So just be wary of overspending on luxury types of purchases this week. Other than that, though, finances look good, so that's exciting. For Virgo and for Virgo rising, this full moon energy is happening in your sixth house, which is the house of health, work, and daily habits and routines. And so for Virgos, this is where you've been working probably really hard. Anytime you have Saturn transiting your sixth house, it's like your day-to-day life is more strenuous. And for you, it could be because of travel plans or an educational pursuit or something that you're working on in those realms, or just a shift in your mindset that's causing you to have to really pivot and change something and work a little bit harder to restructure your work life. This could also be where you've been working really hard on regaining your health, or just getting healthier in general, being more regimented and disciplined about your health routines. This is going to show you how far you've come and the results of the efforts that you've been making, but it's also going to show you where maybe you've fallen short, or you still have some more work to do and you might need to pivot a little bit more. And so that's what's going to be highlighted with this full moon energy. The other thing that's happening is that you have the Venus-Jupiter opposition. This is in your first and in your seventh house. Great energy for relationships. Also great energy for following your passions, or doing something that you're just really lit up about, following your desires. But this is a great relationship energy for creating a good balance. This is a great time for meeting people, because you're going to come across as more charismatic and more likable, especially if you are a Virgo sun or rising, anywhere from 0 to 5 degrees. You'll be feeling that part of this energy the most. But great time for romance, great time for one-on-one interactions, great time for connecting with people, and especially connecting in partnership. For Libra and for Libra rising, this energy's been this full moon energy is happening in your 5th house, which is the house of joy, fun, passions. This is the house of things that you do because you love to do them because they feel good. With Saturn here, you might have been feeling restricted in romance, like romance and that side of things has felt like a lot more work or more trouble than it's worth for those of you who are dating and who are not in relationship. It's kind of like, romance is like too much work right now. I need to like focus on something else. This could also be where you're trying to take your hobbies and passions and turn them into a side hustle or a business of some kind for some of you. And if that's the case in either direction, if you've been kind of working on finding more sustainability and like longevity in romance, you're kind of sick of dating around and that type of thing, you can see how far you've come when it comes to working on yourself, when it comes to like your relationship issues and things like that. And this is also where if you have been trying to turn your hobby into something, viable or profitable in some way, this is where you're going to see the results of how far you've come. But this is also where you're going to have to make a few more adjustments and you're going to see how far you still have to go. This is, a really interesting energy for those of you who have children where maybe you've been feeling more stress or more strain, or you've been feeling like the relationship with your children is more work or it's more difficult, or you've had to be either more or less of a disciplinarian. So either lifting restrictions or imposing more boundaries and restrictions on your children, or it could be that you're lifting restrictions in one area and imposing them in others. Whatever the case is, there's a restructuring going on when it comes to your children, and that could be something that feels more stressful for you right now. If that is the case, this is highlighting how far you've come, and really whatever it is that you're dealing with, this is going to benefit you for the long term moving forward. So even if it is stressful right now, it's going to be just fine, but it's showing you what you've done, how far you've come in your relationship with your children, and how far you still need to go. The Jupiter-Venus energy is happening in your 6th and in your 12th house. This is a great time to kick back and relax. You might have some new opportunities that come to you through your work, but this could also just be a good time to like take advantage of the fact that your work life is a little bit easier this week and less strenuous. And so you can just kick back, relax, rest, and indulge. Focus on your spiritual practices. Focus on things that you do to kind of hide away from the day-to-day reality of everyday life. This is kind of an escapist energy, but it's kind of like it's a beneficial escapist energy. I would say if you do indulge in kicking back and relaxing, you'll be 10 times more productive next week, especially when that's Jupiter, Mars energy really kicks in. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising. So for Scorpios, this energy of the full moon's happening in your 4th house, which is the house of home, family, and property. And so this is where you've been working really hard on creating or building something for yourself when it comes to your home. Very literally, it could be that you're building a home, renovating your home. That would be me as a Scorpio rising. Or it could be that you're working hard on creating something new or creating better foundations for your family, or that you have to take on greater responsibility for your family or for your parents even. A lot of times when you have Saturn transiting the 4th house, it could be that you're having to take in a relative, or you're having to be more responsible for your parents because maybe they're getting older or something like that. That's not always the case, but it's sometimes the case. Sometimes you're taking on a responsibility for a new family member, like literally a baby or something like that, or a pet. Whatever it is that's been coming up for you that you've been working on, or the added responsibilities that you've been taking on and maintaining, you're going to start to see some of the results of all of the effort that you've been putting in. And you're also going to see how far you still have left to go. And so it could be that you're working on saving to buy a house or something like that. And it's like, all right, I see that I've got this chunk and, I have almost enough for my down payment, but I still have to do this, this, and this, or repair my credit or whatever it is. That's just one example, but it could be a lot of different things like that. The Jupiter-Venus opposition is in your 5th and in your 11th house. Great week for just spending time with friends, kicking back and relaxing and doing something that you love, engaging in spiritual or creative pursuits, especially in group situations. I would say that this is a great week to socialize for Scorpios. If you can get out there and, engage with other people, especially toward the end of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, this is a great week for that. And a lot of benefits can come to you that you might not even see or understand yet through connecting with people on that group level or connecting with your friends, especially if you're a Scorpio rising or sun anywhere from 0 to 5 degrees. This is a great energy for relationships this week. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, So for Sagittarius, this full moon is happening in your third house, which is the house of day-to-day activities and travel. It could be involving your commute. It could be involving an educational pursuit of some kind or something that you're writing or trying to communicate. It could also involve your relationships with your siblings, extended family members, neighbors, that type of thing. But there's an energy here where you've been working very hard on having more mental discipline, I would say. So being more disciplined in your mindset around something or in your studies. And that could be a big thing. Or it could be that your commute, very literally, or something with vehicles has been really straining and really stressful, and you've been working on changing that. Either way, whatever the case is for you, this is where you're seeing the culmination of a lot of the work and the effort that you've been putting in over these past few months. You're going to see how far you've come and how far you still need to go. The other thing that's happening is that you have a Jupiter Venus opposition in your fourth and in your 10th house. This is great for, first off, just being more well-liked in the workplace or by your superiors at work. So this is kind of getting on your boss's good side energy if that's something that you need to do. This is also, if you're somebody who's out in the public eye, getting on everybody's good side. So putting something out there that people are going to love and that it's going to make you more likable and more personable, out in the public. This is also a really great energy for some sort of benefit coming to you through your parents, through your family, or through your home and living situation. Something about expanding on the home or beautifying the home could come through for you, or even buying a new home or moving. That could be a really great energy for Sagittarius this week. Home and work-life balance, excellent. That's really what you should focus on cultivating this week. A lot of benefits can come through working on that, and it'll come quite naturally for you this week to have a better balance in those areas. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising. So for Capricorns, this energy of the full moon is happening in your second house, which is the house of money, money, money. And so you've been working really hard to either save or pay off debts. There's something that's been going on here that's been adding extra stress or strain or responsibility to your plate and causing you to have to make changes on a financial level. Whatever it is that you've been working on or working toward with your financial goals, regardless of the changes that you've needed to make, you've made some progress. And this full moon is going to show you the progress that you've made. It's also going to show you where you still need to make some progress. It's going to show you where you have cracks in your financial foundations. It's going to show you where you are going to need to pivot some more, and you're going to need to keep working on this through the end of this year. The other thing that's happening is the Venus-Jupiter opposition, which is happening in your third and ninth house. You're going to be much more optimistic this week. This is a great week too for travel. So if you're somebody who wants to travel, if you're kind of working on travel plans, this is a great week for it. If you need to do something where you're teaching or educating people or writing about something or sharing information in the public, now is a great week for that too. This is a great week for partaking in a new educational pursuit of some kind. But in general, great week for travel. If that's something that feels like indulgent and really fun and exciting for you, this will be a great time to take a little break. Even to do just like a day trip or something like that can really harness this energy and benefit you in ways that you can't see or understand just yet. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius, this full moon's happening in your sign. So the spotlight is on you and the hard work and effort that you've been putting in to restructure basically your entire life. I mean, you've been working really hard to change who you are. You're letting go of old conditioning, old patterns, old habits. You're shedding your old skin right now. This is the cosmic reset of Saturn through your first house, where you are going through that like juice press kind of situation where Robert Phoenix would describe it as it's like you have an orange and you're putting it in one of those press things, and you're squeezing out all of the juice, which represents all of the everything that you built for yourself and everything that's true to you that you've created in terms of your personal foundations in your life. And then you have this rind, right? And you have to kind of get rid of it or figure out what to do with it. The thing that I talk about with that is that with that excess that no longer serves you, that you don't need anymore because you've really, harnessed or squeezed out all the juice, what do you do with that? How do you deal with this responsibly? Are you just going to throw it somewhere crazy, or are you going to compost it? Are you going to do something with it? What can you do with what's left behind? That's going to be a big question that's going to be coming up for you. And so you've been making changes to your personal life, to your relationships, to your career path, and especially to your home life. And so you're going to start to see that culmination of some of the results. So that's part of what's happening this week. Jupiter and Venus are in opposition in your second and in your eighth house. This is a lot of good energy around finances. If you need money to pay off a debt, this could come up for you and you could actually get that. Anything that you initiate right now involving finances could produce results and benefits that you might not even be able to see and understand just yet. And so that's really good energy. I love this for cashing in on investments. So maybe you're going to have some, money that comes in through a past investment and you're able to utilize that in some way. Just keep an eye out for financial opportunities. But on the flip side of that, if money does come in, don't spend it right away if you can avoid that. Save some of it, right? You might want to indulge in something that you've been really wanting to buy, like an unnecessary expenditure that's just for pleasure. And, to a certain extent, that's okay. Just make sure you don't overdo it or overspend so you don't put yourself in a bad situation in a couple of weeks after this energy's gone where you're like, darn it, I shouldn't have spent that. Because this is an energy of like overindulgence. And it could be overindulgence because money comes in, right? That would be best case scenario there. For Pisces and for Pisces rising. So for Pisces, this energy of the full moon is happening in your 12th house. You've been purging a lot. So this has been a lot of energy of having to let go of so many old patterns, so much old karma, so many old cycles in your life. This is also an energy where you've been potentially thrown into more solitude and seclusion, where you've had to kind of spend time on your own to kind of gather your thoughts, to really figure yourself out and to kind of sift out all of the excess so you can purge it in preparation for the big cosmic reset coming up in a couple of years when Saturn hits your ascendant. This is going to show you how far you've gone and how far you've come when it comes to releasing old baggage, old karma, old energies that no longer serve you. This is also potentially you getting more serious about your spirituality. So if you've been indulging or engaging, I shouldn't say indulging, but engaging in some sort of spiritual discipline, now's the time where you can start to see some of the results or fruits of those labors and how far you need to come in deepening your understanding moving forward. The Jupiter-Venus opposition, your sign, which is great. So especially if you're a Pisces, rising sun or moon, anywhere from 0 to 5 degrees, you'll be feeling this the most and you'll be feeling it the most positively. And so this could bring opportunities for you, like just in general, opportunities could be showing up for you. You might feel more enthusiastic. You might feel more passionate. You might feel more charismatic, more beautiful, more handsome. You might feel just a lot more optimistic, especially this week. And this is a great week for relationships. So this is a great week to do something romantic with your partner if you have one. This is a great week to put yourself out there if you don't have a partner and maybe you want one. This is a great week to do anything one-on-one in partnership with somebody that you care about. A lot of great benefits can come to you through engaging in those types of interactions that you might not even be able to see just going into it, right? And so great week overall for Pisces, a lot of good energy. I think that you're going to see some surprising opportunities come up this week, especially through relationships. And so that is the forecast for all 12 signs. And so I want to get into next week's overview because it is kind of an interesting energy because we have Jupiter moving back into Aquarius and it's going to oppose Mars in Leo. And so when Jupiter opposes Mars, it's like, especially in Leo, this is like drama, like over dramatic, like taking it too far, being like over dramatic about whatever it is that you're doing. Dramatic overreactions would be the best kind of phrase to describe Jupiter in opposition to Mars and Leo. So there's going to be a lot of passion, a lot of fire. I think that it's going to bring a combination of good and bad results, hopefully mostly positive, especially because Venus is still in the mix. But Mercury's Cazimi also next week, and that's kind of a big energy. So when Mercury's Cazimi, it means that it's sitting at the heart or the seat of the sun. It's in an exact conjunction within 16 minutes. This usually lasts about 2.5 hours before and after the actual exact conjunction between Mercury and the sun, and that's actually happening, let's see here, at 8:07 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time on August 1st. And so you have a couple hours before and a couple hours after. But what happens when Mercury's Cazimi is that it's elevated. All the mercurial energies become enhanced in a positive way. Mercury rules things like trade and the exchange of currency. Mercury rules like merchants. And so if you're somebody who runs a business, this is a good time to to engage in transactional activities. This is a really great time for communication, especially important communication. When Mercury is cazimi while it's direct, it's more of an externalized focus. So this is a time to actually do things, mercurial, versus when it's retrograde, it always goes cazimi at some point, and that's more of an internalized energy where you get this important download or insight. This is more externalized, so use it for something. Sign on the dotted line, maybe, if it's a good electional day also. Maybe send that important email, have an important conversation with your partner, right? There's a lot of things that you can do involving communication, travel, transaction that you could harness this energy for, and it could go a lot more positively for you. The thing, though, I should say, is that it's also opposing Saturn in Aquarius at the same time. And so we're going to have Sun, Mercury opposition, to Saturn. And so while this is a good energy for during that cazimi period for those things, it's more of a good long-term energy. So it's like disciplined mental activity or having a difficult conversation that needs to happen to create a framework or a foundation for something. Looking at things that are intended to have long-term consequences when it comes to all of the themes and topics that I just talked about with that Mercury cazimi, that's going to be the best way to utilize this energy. And that's what's coming up for next week. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. If you like this video, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and make sure you share this video with your friends if you feel like they could benefit from the information that I just shared with you today. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.